Do you get excited when you see an answer question forum and someone asks a question about something you always wanted to know? Or do you sometimes feel confused about the information given when you read a forum or in a forum and you feel like you need a personal consultation to get your hair right? Well, it's time to dissect a post from a subreddit community where people go to get advice about their hair. You've seen those forums where people want to know what products they should use to get their hair to look like Beyonce, or when they actually should be rocking a sophisticated Issa Rae style. The truth is, we all want to learn from the examples of others, but we need to know how to avoid the pitfalls that come from these posts. And it's time to practice analyzing the content from advice columns to understand how you can get the intended information when you post. Welcome to the Our Black Hair Matters Lunchtime Chat. My name is Dr. Crystal Porter, and I'm a hair scientist and owner of Main Insights, a company that conducts research and focuses on the hair needs of people from African descent. This platform is designed to elevate the Black hair care community and empower consumers and hair professionals with educators that is driven and backed by scientific research. So before I get started, I'd like to know who is out there with me this morning. I'd like to know who you are and where you're from, and you can put it in the chat. Also, I'd like to know if you are a hair practitioner, put in the number one. If you are a consumer, put in the number two. And if you are a researcher or scientist such as myself, you can put in the number three. And also, please like and share this broadcast. If you are viewing from YouTube, please give this a thumbs up and also subscribe to the channel. Now, if you are frustrated with the lack of information available to you when it comes to caring for your hair, and you have wasted a lot of time, money, and resources trying to figure things out on your own, then you are at the right place. And that is why we have created the Our Black Hair Matters movement. And I have put together a resource called Finding the Right Stylist. So you can go to links.maininsights.com/right stylist and you can get that free resource. And while we're on the topic of finding the right stylist, if you have a pressing concern and you need to have a conversation, our team is standing by, and you can schedule a 15-minute complimentary consultation by going to links.maininsights.com/APPT. Well, hello, Taria. Thank you for joining from Maryland, and you are a consumer. That's awesome. So, if you are just joining us, welcome to the Our Black Hair Matter Lunchtime Chat. Today's topic is about the perks and pitfalls of hair forums. I am Dr. Crystal Porter, and today I want to talk about a post from Reddit that is in the Hair Care Science group. Let me grab my notes here because this is a forum that was introduced by my daughter, and they have a weekly mega thread for hair care advice. And my daughter is the one I give credit to for even letting me know about it. And so I started going through everything, and I have to admit, I went down the rabbit hole. But I found one particular post that gave me deja vu because it's the perfect example of what so many people want to know. And so, one of the things I like about this particular form is before you ask for advice, they have pointers for you to give. And they want to know about what hair type you have, they want to know about your hair texture, the history of chemical processing, hygiene regimen, style, and your product regimen. And so, I'm going to go through those a little bit more in detail. But for now, we're going to get started. So, this particular post came from Teak, or who has their name as Teak 286, no, Teak 2836. And I could actually respond to what they put by making my own book chapter, but I figure it would be a great opportunity to discuss and break everything down. But what she said is beneficial for many people. And so I'm going to start off by reading the first paragraph from her post since, since it gave important background information. So it starts off, and I'm going to put it on the screen. There it is. Seeking advice. My hair is low porosity, fine, but also dense or thick, meaning my individual hair strands are fine, but I have a lot of individual hair strands, so my hair is quite thick. I have never really done anything to my hair, so no perms, colors, professional treatments. I have occasionally blow dried or curled my hair, but it's not often when I do. I do when I'm going out for an occasion, maybe once every 2 weeks or once a month, depending upon what I'm doing during that time period. My hair is naturally blonde and I keep it around boob height, just above or below my boobs, depending on when I last got it cut, and tend to wash it about every 2 to 3 days and have been avoiding sulfates lately, as what I thought was dandruff was actually dry scalp. And since going sulfate free, my scalp is held happier and flakes are down. All right. So let's talk about that a little bit. Um, she talked about a lot. So she talked about hair porosity, density, or thickness, fine hair, sulfates, dry scalp, dandruff, and flaking. So it's a lot to unpack. So let's start off with porosity because that relates to the way things penetrate into the hair based on its environment. So it can be the penetration of water in the form of either a vapor or a liquid. It can be ingredients in products or in treatments. So if you have high porosity hair, your hair uptakes more and in a faster time. And if it's low porosity, then it uptakes less and in a slower time period. So I spoke about this more in an earlier broadcast entitled Hair Porosity, Why Absorbing the Wrong Information Can Be Detrimental to Hair Health. So if you want to know a little bit more about porosity, you can go to that particular broadcast. So it's outside the scope of what we're talking about today. And so now I want to move on to what she talked about in terms of the amount of strands in her hair. So she talks about dense hair versus, thick hair. So she uses it like kind of interchangeably. But she explained that she has a lot of hair fibers. So we know that she has what would be considered high density. Now, she also talks about the diameter of the strand. And so she talks about fine hair. And some people refer to that as thin hair, but we need to keep in mind that thick or thin can also be used to describe whether the diameter is small, medium, or large. And so I want to keep those terms pretty clear. So one pitfall of this particular post immediately is you have to, well, at least I had to read it twice to really understand exactly what she was saying. And so if we think of the vocabulary in terms of density and diameter, then everybody will know we're all on the same page. And so density has to do with how many hair fibers there are in a particular area of the scalp. And then diameter is how thick the strand is, the individual strand is. And you have multiple strands, and so they oftentimes differ or they vary in diameter. And so usually we're talking about the average diameter. So I want to know, is there anybody who is confused about the terminology sometimes when you read about hair? So we have Mildred here. Good morning. Thanks for joining. And I appreciate you coming here. All right. So I want to now move into pitfall number 2, because she says that she avoids sulfates. And the way that she said it can make readers think that the products that contain sulfates can cause dandruff or dry scalp. And that is far from the truth. I have a good friend and colleague who has been here on the chat before, and who is Angela Ellington. And she and I talk about this all the time. A lot of people feel that the formula that contains sulfates, just because it has sulfates, that is bad. And that's not true. And so how the formulation is made can strongly influence how your hair and scalp respond to it. So that particular statement is really misleading, and people will read it and think that is true. So now we're going to go to paragraph number 2. And it says, I have a few questions, as my hair can be quite complicated and contradictory, meaning that it's fine but thick hair. And so Google searching has not been a great amount of help, Because my hair is fine, it can easily be weighed down by too heavy products. And since it's low porosity, it can sometimes just sit on my hair and not absorb. But because my hair is thick and quite weighty, I have noticed that products for fine hair don't have enough heft to keep styles in my hair, but products for coarser hair, often labeled as thicker hair, tend to weigh my hair down. Any advice on this? So, in a nutshell, it sounds like she wants style retention without her hair being weighed down. And I can see that happening if she uses conditioners that contain polymers or weighty silicones or even waxes. However, she may be able to choose a mousse or lighter weight hairspray to achieve her desired feel and look. And I would recommend a consultation with an experienced stylist in this case if she doesn't want to just spend a lot of money with trial and error. We're going to move on to paragraph number 3. It says, as previously mentioned, she said she means to say my hair is fine and low porosity. For low porosity, it's recommended to avoid protein treatments as it can increase breakage. But because my hair is fine, it's recommended to do a protein treatment once a week as fine hair can be a bit fragile. So am I supposed to avoid protein, do it once a week, every 2 weeks, once a month? All right. So the poster actually stated that it's recommended that people with low porosity hair should avoid protein treatments because it can increase breakage. Now, first of all, I want to know who said that because that's not anything I've ever heard. But then she says that since it's fine, meaning she has thinner strands, that she wants to incorporate protein treatments. And so I want to tackle this by incorporating exactly what she may want the protein treatment to do to begin with. So products that have protein claim that they help to strengthen the hair. However, the treatments are mostly recommended for those who have damaged hair. So she already stated that she doesn't do anything with her hair, and that is low porosity, which is indicative of undamaged hair. And so therefore, if she doesn't have a problem with breakage, I wouldn't try to fix what's not broken. So it sounds like she wants to reinforce her thin hair, which is understandable. But even though thicker hair that would be in the same condition as hers is probably stronger, but it doesn't mean that her hair isn't strong enough to endure her grooming routine as it stands. So as I said before, just leave good enough alone. All right, so now we are going to go to paragraph number 4. It says, and finally, I don't know if my hair is straight or wavy. It does look straight, but is often quite poofy and fluffy, and the frizz can be real. But if I look at the individual strand that has fallen out or been pulled out, the strand is wavy. So how can I tell if my hair is wavy or straight? Also, with regards to brushing, it's recommended to be gentle to fine hair, particularly if it's wavy, and not brush it or use a very gentle brush. But if I don't keep my hair in a plait, simple ponytail with a 3-strand plait, it needs bristles to detangle it. So am I brushing wrong? Should I get a gentler brush or maybe a detangling spray? Any help would be greatly appreciated. Okay, so let's start off with what's easy, and that is whether or not her hair is straight or wavy. So if it becomes poofy or frizzy, it's definitely not naturally straight. But to determine the degree of curvature, then you can take a few strands that have naturally shed from your hair so you don't have to pluck them out. And then you can put them in water for about 5 minutes. You can take them out, and after they're dry, you can see the wave or the curvature of the individual strands. And so from what you said, it could happen from the fact that you wear your hair in a plait, and so it can actually form a little wave based on the braid. But to really determine that, you can definitely do that little simple experiment. Now, you ask about brushing, and the main advantage that you get from brushing is to align your hair fibers and make them look neat. But when you brush, you also increase the points of contact on the hair in the strands, which can actually pull the hair. and the cycles of pulling can lead to fatigue, which increase the opportunities for breakage. So if you must brush, here is what I recommend. Using a comb with a wide tooth, with combs or teeth before untangling, and then start at the roots and make your way up to the root. Then you use the brush that has the widest bristles to achieve your goal. Then you can use bristles that are flexible and give fibers a chance to slide past one another to help decrease the force on individual strands. So that is what I would recommend if you have to wear a brush. But it seems like her stated goal is to be the best way to detangle the hair while avoiding damage due to breakage or keep it from becoming tangled in the first place. And so with that, she can use products with lightweight silicones or polymers. And the reason why I say lightweight is because she complained about her hair being weighed down. And then once again, she can also ask an experienced stylist for product recommendations that are specific to her particular hair. Now I want to see, I have a few comments. I have fine hair and I find that leave-in conditioner and a light oil works for me. Yeah, I can definitely understand that. Now, because I know who you are, I am, oh, and this is from Virgo 73. And I would say because you have coily type hair, that I can understand the light oil working for you. But sometimes when you wear your hair straight, then I can understand it being weighed down in the instance for what the poster said. And then, oh, Shantae said, hello, hey, how you doing? And then Taria says, that's great advice on brushing. Thank you very much. And then Virgo said, I use what I call the Denman brush. Yes, that's a very popular brush to use. And I like the Denman brush, especially if you want to line those fibers. The Denman brush is awesome for that. Thank you for the smiley faces. I appreciate that, Virgo. All right. And so I want to just have a pulse check. Does any of this make sense? Because I want to make sure that the example that I provided would resonate in terms of things that you may have experienced yourself. Now, there is a plethora of different things that you can do, but I definitely wanted to highlight this. And then I'm going to also give background information about things that you can do when you write a post so that you can best position yourself for the information that you desire to have. All right. Well, we'll have the opportunity for you to ask questions a little later. So now I'm going to jump into how to get the best advice that you need. And so one of the things that I want to do is let you know the different ways that you need to break down what's going with you and your hair. And the first thing is to provide information about your current routine. And so that means how you style your hair. And that is including the products that you use, what you use, and the frequency that you use them. If you have your hair in braids, if they're in locks, or if you decide to wear it straight and loosely curled, maybe. Also, the type of the types of braids, because not all braids are the same. The poster that we talked about use plaits, but we also have cornrows that are also considered braids. And so the type and frequency, and even the state of the hair while you're styling matters, because I had an incident where a young, well, she was around 10 years old at the time. Her mom was complaining about her hair being breaking off and being weak. And so when I dug deep and found out that she was getting her cornrows while the hair was wet, that really set off a light bulb, because I could tell from looking at her hair that the strands were deformed. And that is a good way to weaken your hair unintentionally. So it's good to know and provide that information. Also, you need to give information about the implements used. So whether it's a heat appliance or even grooming tools such as combs or brushes. Also, the type of activities that you partake in. So do you work outside in the sun, or do you go and work out and swim? So you should always consider these lifestyle factors that can let us know exactly what your routine is, because the advice that's given will be dictated by that. You should also, number two, tell about the current state of your hair. And what I mean by that is giving the average diameter of the hair strand. So is it thin, medium, or thick hair fibers? Also, the density. Is the hair on your entire head, is it low, medium, or high density? Meaning that you have fewer strands or you have a lot of strands in the particular area of your scalp. Then different curl patterns on one head. And so sometimes you have like one predominant type of curl pattern, and that is important to know. And I've heard from a lot of stylists that they don't like curl typing and breaking that down because some people feel that hair is hair, but that is not true. It really does depend upon the degree of curvature in terms of what you're trying to achieve, which we'll get to next. All of that will be important for anybody who's given advice to know. Now, what I've named so far, they are very subjective. And if you don't know, once again, I recommend that you seek out a knowledgeable stylist. Now, you also want to provide information about its state in terms of if it's natural, if it's colored, or the length of it. Is it short or maybe it's relaxed? All of this is important. And then lastly, if you can determine whether or not it's damaged. If it's not damaged, it's not likely to be porous, but if it is damaged, then it probably is porous. Now, the third thing is to state your desired outcome or what you want to achieve. So, are you wanting your hair to break less or maybe grow longer? Do you want it to have more shine? That would mean that you would, need a product that is a form filmer, such as a silicone, or a product that has polymers. Also, keep in mind that you may want to achieve something that may not be possible. You may not have the skills to do it yourself yet. I always say with practice, you can definitely achieve anything you want. But maybe your hair isn't the length that it needs to be, or maybe the curl pattern is not able to accommodate your desired style. So make sure that you give all of that information. Now, Virgo says, for my natural hair, I follow the lock method. Oh, that's excellent information for someone to know. And the lock method means that you apply a liquid product followed by an oil and then followed by a cream. And that works for a lot of people. I would have to say that I actually do a LCO. I do my liquid first, then I do my cream, and then I do my oil. And sometimes I actually do my oil first, and then my liquid, and then my cream, depending upon what's going on with me. But yeah, that's important to know as well. Taria says, I realized that I have at least four curl patterns. Ooh, that's a lot. That's a lot. But a trained stylist can usually work with that. Absolutely. Virgo says, I have mixed it up as well. Yeah. Sometimes, depending upon what's going on with your hair or how you're styling it, because oftentimes I style my hair while it's wet, then that will determine what's going on and how I need to apply my product. So that's absolutely right. Now, the fourth thing that you should do is describe everything to the best of your ability. So if you don't understand the vocabulary, you need to try to give analogies. For example, curl pattern. So if I were to describe my curl pattern, some people don't know about the curl typing that was originated by Andre Walker, who is a cosmetologist and also known as Oprah stylist. And so a lot of people don't follow that. And so if you want to tell about the degree of curl in your hair, you can say what I would say if I were to describe it. And that is, if I were to remove one single strand, it's going to curl up to the degree that it's like the diameter or width of the coil of a safety pin. So if anybody has just a normal safety pin and you look at the little coil at the end, that's how much my hair in its natural state will curl up. And so describe it, So if it doesn't coil up, then you can say, maybe you can reference some celebrity that people know about, the curl degree in which they normally wear their hair. And so even if it's a weave that someone wears, for example, I mentioned Beyonce, and there's been a lot of people talking about, oh, that's not her real hair, or maybe it is. But regardless, she has a characteristic look. And if you say, oh, I have a curl pattern like Beyonce usually has, then, people can know what that is. Also, try to avoid saying that you have hair that's dry, because we don't really know what that means. So does it look dry? Does it feel dry? Or maybe it's both. So be very specific when it comes to describing what's going on with your hair. And then oftentimes, if I can't assess people's hair myself, I can tell them to like take a strand and run their fingers like down the shaft of one hair strand, and then tell me how it feels. Is it smooth as you move your finger down the shaft? Is it bumpy? Or does it start off smooth and then end up a little bumpy? All of those descriptions can give insight into what's going on with your hair. So just provide as much information as possible. Now, the fifth thing that may sound obvious, but it's something that needs to be said, and that is know what you want to ask. And what I mean by that is wanting to keep your hair in a healthy state is totally different than having a problem and wanting, advice on you have a particular need. And so you want an answer to a problem. So if things aren't explained correctly, or if you go back and forth numerous times because enough information isn't provided, then you decrease the chances that you'll get the best advice possible. All right, thank you, Taria, for identifying LOC, meaning liquid oil cream. Appreciate that. Now, I know I provided a lot of information about what you should provide to get advice, but that just lets you know just how many things need to be considered for you to get the best advice. Now, you have what's needed for you to explain to a qualified hair professional on an open forum. But if you want to have a face-to-face conversation, you may want to grab a copy of How to Find the Right Stylist if you want one to care for your hair. And I'll put that link in because that is a freebie that you can get just in case you need to be connected to a stylist and you have no idea how to find one. So I want to ask if there are any more questions or comments. Okay, I have Virgo. She says, I have followed Curly Nikki as well. This is great info. Thanks so much. Thank you so much. I love Curly Nikki. It's interesting. You can see how she's gone through a transformation, because now she has a lot of inspirational blogs, and she has these getaways that you can, find yourself and find your zen. So thank you for saying that. Curly Nikki is awesome. She has a lot of great information, and I have her book too. All right. So for those of you who watch the replay, be sure to comment and post your questions. If you haven't become a part of the Our Black Hair Matters movement, you can definitely go on Facebook and join the group. But now you have the ammunition to provide the needed information. But if you are one of many people who need to find a vetted hair professional, you can go to links.maininsights.com, and you can schedule a complimentary consultation with someone on my team. Thank you so much for putting that up. And thank you for your attention. And as always, remember that Our Black Hair Matters. And as always, take care and love your hair. Bye-bye.